One thing for sure, everybody's talking about Optimus. And you've been talking about Optimus. You've been sending me all kinds of questions, all kinds of comments, and I thank you for all those questions and comments. And today, we're going to answer a bunch of them. This is Randy Kirk, and if you're watching Optimus content, you like this kind of content, let me know by liking, subscribing. You can certainly, we'd love to have you also hit the Patreon thing. Go ahead and join up on Patreon. That's a way you can support the channel. You can support the channel by buying the book. You can support the channel just by watching a lot of videos and watching them to the end. That helps a lot too. Okay, let's get into the subject matter for today. All right, the most asked question, the one that I've seen by far the most is, am I nuts or just deluded? So I think this has to, I don't think, maybe this is maybe generally that's the question, but I think the specific question is, are you kidding me that you're going to build 1 million bots by 2024? Are you kidding me that they're going to build 1,000 or more than 1,000 this year? Are you kidding me that they're going to be able to ramp up this fast, et cetera, et cetera? I think that's what the question is. Well, listen, I think you guys, if you follow me at all, if you've been watching my videos, you know I'm an optimist. My new handle, or part of my handle on Twitter now, is the Optimus Optimist. So yes, I am an optimist, always been that way, not going to change now. But the numbers are not just pulled out of the air. Well, okay, when I said 1,000 the first year, that was kind of pulled out of the air. The 1 million next year, no, that's much more concrete. And even now I'm seeing that the 1,000 this year could have been low. It may be more than that, maybe a little less than that. I still think that that's a very, very good number for this year. And I always said that production on a factory production unit would start by the end of this year, our first quarter of next year. I still stand by that. And I think there are good reasons to believe that's going to happen, or may happen even sooner based on conversations with experts. So that's not just Randy. I'm looking at it from a guy who owned a factory for 29 years and could see the applications for the Optimus immediately, great applications for the Optimus. And I looked at the overall build of the Optimus and said, that doesn't look that hard. So let's go ahead. Now, by the way, that doesn't mean it's not hard. I just meant it doesn't look that hard. All right. So number one, am I nuts or just deluded? Yes, maybe. Depends on who you ask. Okay. Number two, who would want these robots? What can they do that other automation or other existing bots can't do? Well, the beauty of the humanoid version is its flexibility. You can buy all kinds of bots, and you can buy all kinds of these big old arms that come over and do things. And you can buy automation, things that put caps on bottles and put candies into boxes, and all the kinds of things that we know about as lay people. I've gone to some automation shows. There's some incredible stuff out there that does phenomenal things, but they are all built and designed for a specific task. And typically you need quantities to do those tasks. I mean, in order to afford the machine and go to the trouble to set it up, you need some quantities. So where does the bot fit in my world? In my world, my quantities weren't big enough. So the bot has the flexibility to do a small amount. Not going to cost me $100,000, $200,000 to try it, or to try to make it work in my routine, in my business. No, it comes in, you train it how to do the job, and it should be able to do the job. And then if it's done doing that job, you can train it to do another job. And then if it can get all those jobs done in 8 hours and you're open for 16, well, then it can do some other job on the second shift. In fact, even if you're not open on the second shift, you can just have it sit there and do another job on the second shift. And you can monitor it from home, looking into your computer and seeing that it's actually still doing the job, either through its own eyes or through cameras that you might have around. So the flexibility is a huge thing. The low volume is a huge thing for smaller companies or for companies that have some low volume things that they do. And then it's not for single use, and it's low volume. And then number three, Scott likes to point out the kind of job where the volume may be high, like let's say automobiles being pumped out of a plant, but some of those giant robots come over and they pick up a part, and then they take that part and they put it on the car or whatever, they put it in for paint or whatever they do to it. But somebody has to put that part exactly and precisely where the robot, the big robot, is going to pick it up and then do something with it. So Scott was pointing out that that's a perfect job for the Optimus. It can pick up the part, walk it over, and put it precisely and exactly where the big robot is going to need it. It's not a safety problem, because if the bot gets hurt, the bot gets hurt. It's a boring and repetitive task, and it's something that is easy for something like the Optimus to do. There are no other robots or kinds of robots out there that would be right for this kind of job. Then there's places that are inhospitable. So somebody, it was another commenter who said, yeah, you could put this, you could set up your factory or your application, whatever it is that you need this robot to do, could be in a terribly cold place. It could be in a remote place where the rents are cheap. Doesn't matter where you put it. You're going to be able to, it doesn't matter that, like, for instance, we've talked about Reno, the Sparks plant having problems finding enough labor. No problem. The robot doesn't care where it lives. Okay. So then the other thing is the things that Elon mentioned from the very beginning: boring, repetitive, requiring strength, dangerous. Even the repetitive part of, let's say, carpal tunnel or other kinds of things that would affect humans obviously won't affect the robot. So that's just a bunch of the different kinds of things that differentiate it from typical robots that are out there today and or automation. All right, number 3, what about regulations? What about OSHA? Won't there be safety issues? Well, if you look at the video from yesterday morning, by the way, Saturday morning's video with John and Scott, that one didn't get a lot of views. And if you missed that one, you should go back and watch it, because it's a really good video. Scott goes into a lot of detail about training and about setting up the bot and about these OSHA issues and safety issues. So yes, there may be OSHA issues. I'm quite confident that Tesla is currently working with OSHA people. They already know them. How many robots have they installed? They've got lots and lots of connections with people from OSHA and other safety organizations that deal with the workplace. I'm sure they're already, heavily engaged with Optimus, with these folks as we speak, and will be taking off sharp edges, are dealing with the amount of power that the bot can do in any given situation, or what happens if it falls down. I mean, all of these kinds of things, I'm sure, will be dealt with quite easily. I don't really see these as being an issue. All right, what about, somebody said, even if you could assemble 1 million robots in 2024, how are you going to make 1 million of all the small parts that go into the robot? Well, quite frankly, as a plastics guy, all of the plastic parts, there's no problem. Okay, so it's not a big deal. You make a mold, you can punch out 1 million pieces in no time at all. It's quite easy. Now let's talk about some of the metal parts. Several people have been commenting. I'm not a guy that I have friends and associates and people that I know that do, all these different CNC and castings and all this kind of stuff. I don't know very much about it, but Scott says this is not an issue. These will be easy to also set up, depending on whether they need 1 million, or maybe it's something that there's 4 of them that are identical and they need 4 million in order to do 1 million. Well, you just have that many more machines pumping them out. The kinds of parts that we're talking about are not difficult to make tools for. They're not difficult to find machinery to manufacture, and you can run them 24/7 sometimes with very little human intervention. And if you need intervention, well, maybe you have a robot that's watching the machine. So no, I don't think any of the small parts. Let me know if you think there's a very specific small part out of all the parts that are going to go into the robot that you think that is the real issue. And I'll be happy to look that up or talk to experts to find out specifically if that is an issue or not. All right, then what about the impact on the economy, on humanities? Won't the unions rise up? Won't people want to ban them, to get all kinds of laws against them? A lot of transitional things seem like they're going to impact really, really fast. But even like robotaxi, it's not going to impact fast. It's going to take years and years and years for even a tiny part of the fleet. Now, it might impact taxi drivers and Uber drivers fast, but even there, no, not really. It's going to take a couple of few years before those folks are really being impacted in any huge amounts. But in the case of the robot, if you had 100 million of these by 2030, which I'm saying that that's what Tesla should be shooting for, if you had 100 million of them by the end of 2030, it's a very small percentage of the worldwide workforce. The worldwide workforce is over 3 billion, closer to 4 billion. So 100 million is kind of a drop in the bucket. Now, will it maybe make some things inexpensive will we be able to manufacture some things that couldn't be manufactured before because the human labor was too high of a cost? Will we be able to put robots in third world countries to do tasks that will help those countries flourish and become more successful and more wealthy? Absolutely. There's a lot of things that are going to happen with those 100 million robots that'll be phenomenal, but I think it'll be in the 30s before it's going to have such a huge impact that the unions will start getting all upset. Now, you combine AI or AGI, artificial intelligence or artificial general intelligence with the robot, and now people start, becoming concerned about the robots turning on us, because it's one thing to have a computer terminal turn on you. It's another thing to have a human looking 5'3" robot that can run 5 miles an hour turning on humans. So yes, I think there will be issues. People will want to know how are we going to control and keep these robots in check. But in general, no, I think that it won't be any different than a million other automations. I mean, literally, I'll bet you there's been a million different jobs or types of jobs that have been automated over the last 150, 200 years that have completely eliminated entire job categories like farmers and clerks and tellers and secretaries, and let me go down the line of all these jobs that have been eliminated. So no, I don't think that'll be the case. Another one is a whole bunch of people. This might be my second most asked question. Will bots be used for war? Will different countries now come to Elon and say, hey, I want to buy 100,000 of these so that I can put them out on the field and use them for war? Probably. But I'm more worried about drones. Someday I want to do a video on this. Maybe nobody will watch, but I really believe that Taiwan, hopefully right now, is building at least 1 million drones, all armed and ready to go with different radio frequencies and different ways of keeping China from being able to disable them, because we've seen what's happened in the Ukraine with drones. Little Ukraine has been attacking the Navy, the Russian Navy, and put a single drone, is putting out a warship. So I'm way more worried in terms of warfare about what drones can do. They can be made really little. They can be made big. The little ones can have poison darts. I mean, there's so many possibilities with drones. They can sneak up on you. I mean, don't get me started. So we'll do that video another day. So I'm more worried about drones, but I did think there is this possibility that the drones might carry bots into specific situations where the bots then could be on the ground doing things that the drones couldn't do without the bots. So yes, I suppose there might be some bots used in war. Can we control them? I think I answered that earlier. I'm sure we'll try, and hopefully we can. These kinds of technologies, people have been talking about technologies are going to kill us at least as long as I've been alive. Yes, in fact, people used to think that if you went over 35 miles an hour in an automobile, you would die. So lots and lots of technologies people have believed would be the end of humanity. And this one might be it. But we are all going to die. Ultimately, at some point, every one of us is going to die, except for those who believe that we're also going to figure out the answer to that through chemistry and biology and medicine. Anyway, okay, number 8. Isn't Tesla way behind on both hardware and AI? Number one, yeah, you can look at some videos out there and you'll see some of these other robot companies with robots that you can push them over and they don't fall down, and they can walk on all kinds of uneven surfaces, and they can do backflips, and there's all kinds of different robots out there that seem to be really, really capable in certain environments. None of them are designed like Teslas. Teslas are designed to be manufactured at scale. Teslas are designed to be manufactured at scale and then go and do lots of useful work. Nobody else is doing that. That is the unique aspect of what Tesla's doing. That's why Elon took it on. He's not interested in a lab experiment. He's not interested in something that is going to be fun to watch on a YouTube video. He's interested in something that will do useful work. He said that, he stated it on multiple occasions, and he said he's going to manufacture these robots as fast as he possibly can. And I believe that it is next to Starship. I think it's the number one thing on his mind on a daily basis. I could be wrong. I think maybe the robotaxi is also on his mind on a daily basis, but I think that's a lot closer to being solved, and that the engineers are probably able to manage most of what has to be done there, as opposed to the robot is now kind of in that stage where it might be really exciting and interesting for Elon. I don't know. Elon, let us know. What's number one on your mind on a daily basis? I'm saying it's Starship number one, Optimus number two, and then the robotaxis. All right. Number 9, these bots won't be ready for in-home use anytime soon. I agree, they won't. They'll be ready for factories now, next week, a month, I don't know. There's a point at which it probably is right now that the robots will be ready for factory use. It'll start out with the easiest possible job where the robot doesn't walk very far or do very much, and it's doing the same activity over and over and over on some kind of line, or picking up the same thing and moving it over here, or putting tape on a box. It'll start out doing very, very simple tasks. And then as it learns more and learns more, and I'm going to do a whole video on that next week, I think someday. I want to talk about how I see these robots being trained, coached, socialized. I don't think it's a big deal, and I've got a lot of ideas about it. Maybe you do too. Let me know in the comments if you have ideas of the ways that you think that these can be trained, coached, and socialized. I think those are the 3 things that need to happen. And then, and of course, comments on any of the things that I just brought up. I'd love to read more of your comments on Optimus. Okay, and then, so yes, home use, where they need to go up and down stairs and make decisions about which beer to bring you, or go wake up the kids. No, this is a way out there. I want to say that it will be at least 2026 or late 2025. Let's say 2026. It'll be 2026 before Elon and Tesla will even consider beginning to offer them as something to be purchased in the home. Between now and then, I think that Tesla will be very interested in watching and maintaining some kind of their own engineering staff for every single robot that goes in the field, even when it's 1 million. So maybe every single engineer will be responsible for managing 5,000 bots in the field. When it says managing, that means a light goes off, he has to go and see, why did the light go off? Or he needs to make a phone call and ask what went wrong, or somebody gets to call him. So in the early days, maybe it's 1 in 5,000, maybe later it's 1 in 10,000, but there's going to be a connection. There's going to be customer service relationship between Tesla and every single installation. Okay, finally, this one also comes up a lot. Why not wheels instead of feet? Uses less energy, goes faster, easier to move around on flat surfaces, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, probably, but it doesn't make it as universal, as flexible as it is when it has feet. I think Elon is looking for one form factor. I think that's what Tesla's plan is. However, some clever people have suggested, why don't you put some of those retractable blades inside the shoe, or maybe it's a blade that comes down from the ankle. so that it could roll when it wants to roll, and it could walk when it wants to walk. And so that would be walk and roll, right? Oh man, that was horrible. I'm sorry. I wonder if I can bleep that out. Okay. So your comments, please. Let me know what you're thinking. Let me know if you liked it. Subscribe, hit the notification button, because I got some videos coming up this week you are going to want to see. Be sure and check back later today for the Monday morning show, which is I shoot and publish on Sunday night, that talks about what's going to happen with the stock market and what's going to happen with Tesla next week. By the way, I know that this video is being shown after the numbers came out on Sunday morning, but I am shooting this on Saturday afternoon, so I don't know what the numbers are yet, so I can't comment, but I will be commenting in the show later this afternoon. All right, as usual, hit the Patreon, please. Join Patreon. I need more people. I need more help, need more support for the show to pay the bills. All right, it's been great talking to you.